All right, I'm sticking with this. Save America, kill the budget, kill the bill and all that goes in it. Joining me now is Louisiana Senator John Kennedy, who is a member of the Budget Committee. Senator Kennedy, we welcome you to the show. And I want to begin with this. Look, if you triple tax personal income, capital gains, and now this wealth tax, if you triple tax investment and innovation and technology, you're going to get less investment, less innovation, less wealth. That can't be good for the economy, and that's where the Biden budget seems to be going.
I think that's an accurate assessment, Larry. I've started looking at his proposed budget, and as best I can tell, President Biden recommends that we do all the things that didn't work the first time. We know after 14 months what President Biden stands for. He stands for bigger government, higher taxes, more spending, more debt, open borders, abortion, and a weaker military. And all of that is in his budget, including tax increases, as you pointed out. And I would suggest that anyone who has a scintilla of desire to see the federal government become more fiscally responsible, this budget to them looks like somebody knocked over a urine sample. The only way I know to improve this thing is with a shredder.
Yeah, throw it out. I mean, you know what, sir? There's deficit spending each and every year. By the way, the deficit bottoms next year because the pandemic spending slows down, ends, most of it. But then it goes back up if you look at the actual 10-year numbers. They got deficit spending, which I thought was the root cause of inflation. Deficit spending forces the Fed to print more money, and that gives us the inflation rate. I don't see that scenario changing one bit.
Not under this budget. A couple of points. Our revenues as a federal government have never been higher. Yet President Biden wants to raise taxes even more. I would suggest to him that we need to stop asking who needs to pay more money to the government and start asking what the hell happened to the money that we already have. Number two, that his budget will be kerosene on the fire for inflation. I mean, if you want to pay $20 for a honey bun, vote for this budget because it's going to just send inflation higher. Point three, Larry, there's no effort that I can tell, none, zero, zilch, nada, to try to reduce spending. There's no effort to try to reduce the $17 billion that we spend every year on food stamps for able-bodied people without children. We spend $40 billion on Medicaid. There's no effort in this budget to try to reduce personnel costs. It's just more tax, more spend, more regulate. I don't think the Republicans are going to go for it. I don't know about the Democrats.
You know, you look at the states, Senator. The states are awash in revenues for a number of reasons. And so many of these states, well over more than half the states, are using the surplus revenues to cut taxes and hand the money back to the people who earned it in the first place. It's the direct opposite of what Biden is doing.
Well, that's the difference today between Republicans and Democrats. Democrats, led, of course, by President Biden, believe that the federal government can spend the money you earn better than you can. And they believe that the federal government made America great. Most Republicans don't believe that. They believe people can spend their money better than government, and that the reason that America is the most powerful country and the most wonderful country in all of human history is because of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And that's really the difference today between Democrats and Republicans.
Seems to me GOP should be for growth. The Democrats are for redistribution. GOP should be for growth. I mean, I don't think this is a growth budget. I don't see a scintilla of growth in this budget.
No, I mean, if you want growth, the first thing we ought to do is make the tax cuts in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that you helped craft permanent. That's the first thing we ought to do. Number two, we ought to recognize that the reason that we have 8% and climbing inflation is because the federal government is spending way too much money. Now, there's some things we need to spend more money on, the defense, for example. But President Biden is recommending basically in his budget a cut for defense spending if you factor in inflation, but he wants to increase social spending by 14%. I mean, that's why it's just, I'm not going to vote for this. I can tell you.
Yes, sir. Before we lose you, Senator Kennedy, I want to go back to your op-ed piece, and you have a bill with my dear friend French Hill, which would make any capital allocations to the IMF, so-called special drawing rights. I know it's a bit technical for many viewers, but it's very important. The Treasury put in $650 billion. They didn't need congressional vote for it. They just did it. And as you point out in your op-ed, Russia gets $19 billion of these additional, I'm going to call it additional capital certificates just to oversimplify. And then they can use that, $19 billion. They can use it for collateral. They can exchange it with other countries. I mean, what's up with that? Is the IMF with us or against us? And why will we be handing Russia all this money? And why didn't our Treasury Department do something about it?
Well, as you know, Larry, the International Monetary Fund is kind of like a World Bank. Every country puts in money to help countries that are down on their luck. The American taxpayer puts in the most money. The IMF issued what are called special drawing rights. That's just a gift card to all the members of the bank that they can trade in for cash, in most cases, U.S. dollars. I asked Secretary Yellen not to do this. She knew that Russia was right on the border of Ukraine. She did it anyway, and through her efforts, we basically gave President Putin $17 billion cash. We gave Iran $5 billion cash, and we gave China $40 billion cash. And we had to borrow money to do it. I mean, we're going backwards here.
Well, I hope you put an end to it. I hope this bill passes. I mean, they should at least go through congressional appropriation. I know it's not fashionable, and they want to make an Iran peace treaty and not go through Congress either, through the Senate. But I think at some point we should stop giving money away to Russia, Iran, China, and so forth and so on. I give you the last word, Senator Kennedy.
Well, here we are on the one hand sanctioning Russia and trying to bring it to its knees economically, and on the other hand, our Department of Treasury, through the IMF, is giving Putin $17 billion cash. Now, you know, I know life is full of contradictions, but where I come from, that's called stupidity.
Yes, sir. You got me. You got me, Senator Kennedy. I am forced to agree with you 100%. I hope you get that bill through. And Senator Kennedy, you got to stop the budget, too. It's your responsibility, sir.
We will.
We'll leave it there. Thank you for coming on the show. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Larry.
Good
to hear from you.
All right.